find ways to tell a new story, find ways to extend that story, find ways to say, it might be the same story, but text this number to get. It gives you blase blah off the site. It gives you exclusive access to the next collection. Stuff like that helps get to goals, because the more creative you are, the more, people are interacting and having fun with your product and wanting to get it, rather than just reaching ceilings, like I said, and trying to, okay, let's move on to the next.
Everyone, I'm Kosh. I'm the host of the Creative Breakthrough Podcast. This podcast was created to give artists the codes to build audiences, cash flow, and make a living doing what they love, ultimately to eliminate the starving artist. On today's episode, I have Latif Wisdom. Many different last names, probably.
Yeah, a lot of different last names.
Thank you for joining me. I wanted to first tell you that although I never come to anything you invite me to, I am a big fan. I'm a big fan. And I have seen you progress before we even knew each other. So I actually knew about Wisdom, I think, when you first started, which was like 2012.
Yep. Oh, yeah, it's 2 years after I started, but that's about the time.
That was because I knew a guy named Physics Harris, and that's an OG. And I don't know if he used to print for you, but he put me on at that time. I don't know.
Oh, that's really, so shout out to Fizz, because that's cool that he put you on with what I do. Fizz, yeah, definitely printed. I went to him for screen printing embroidery from his grandma. I love her. I love both of them. Me and Fizz actually had the same birthday, which is bizarre. Just working with Fizz is, I think, a really cool experience in Atlanta to have if you are starting your brand, or if you have started your brand back in like 2010 to 14. That was like one of those pivotal spaces to be at. So shout out to Fizz just for cultivating that. And sometimes we don't know what we're doing it, but when you look back, it's like, yo, he really moved the needle for a lot of brands out here. Fizz, if you know Fizz, then Fizz is crazy, but that's the journey with him, is to go through that with him and have that human experience with him.
Yeah, he's definitely crazy, but this is about you. So this is about you. So let me ask you, for people who are unfamiliar with you, how would you describe what you do in one sentence?
What I do in one sentence is I allow my inner kid to still exist. That's mainly what I do. In that process of allowing him to exist, there's things he's always wanted to do in this world, and he does them in this world, because when you journeying through that process, you already see things that people say, oh, you won't be able to do that professionally, or you're going to have to go through this process to get in that realm for that to exist for your life and where you're going. So I've always listened to that in a structural point of view, but also denied it and went rebellious against that in an emotional point of view. The things that I love to do is design. I started doing Photoshop back in that's why I said 2010 is when we started, because I first got on Photoshop in 2008. And that was just me drawing the Wisdom logo with the mouse and then putting it on a flash drive. That was the first time I touched Photoshop. Then I had a class in high school, 9th grade, for Photoshop. And then years later, here goes the use of the logo. But my inner kid wanted to mimic ads that I seen. I seen Nike do ads, I seen Stussy do ads, I seen hundreds, all these brands. And I was like, I know how to mimic that, because I was good at MySpace designs and photos and all these different things, and also hand drawing. So I just eventually pivoted and said, look, use that perspective in what you do. And Wisdom was born. So that's my inner kid, just like wanting to create things that it wasn't able to see, that he wasn't able to see, and add more to the world creatively. That's the fun part of what I do. And that turns out to be the form of graphic design, cartooning, or animation, fashion design, fashion industrial design, where all types of things.
So would you say that because I started at the same time as you with Photoshop. I think I learned Photoshop in 2008 as well. I took a class in high school. I was like maybe in 10th grade. But I want to understand, do you think that was when you achieved your first creative breakthrough?
In 2008?
When you learned Photoshop and you were like, I want to make these things.
Part of it, yeah. I think I first achieved my creative breakthrough using a Wacom tablet and drawing. And then, oh, this is actually good. That's when I was like, oh, when you work at something long enough, you get good at it. And so that was a breakthrough for me to go, oh, I can actually draw in here and it actually comes out decent, actually comes out good. And then when I did that with the mouse, I think that's really solidified it. And I say Once I can see, I remember the transition from looking at a photo on MySpace or Facebook or whatever at the time, Twitter. The editing on it was so heavy and like crazy. When I was able to see like less is more, that's when I was like, oh, this is crazy. Because once I communicate less is more effectively, I think people were able to see exactly what my vision was and be able to join it. I represent this as well. And that's the creative breakthrough I had, is being able to use a less is more perspective in design.
How much time passed from when you first learned Photoshop to when you did that?
That's a good question. I'll say it happened maybe 2014. I started to see the minimal perspective work. Oh, no, I'm wrong. 2016. It's the red balloon design. That's when I was like, oh, less is more. I think I fell in love with Nike Windbreaker, like some of the 70s, 80s collection, and then also Kanye West doing the pastel. And then pulling inspo from both, and I designed this collection called Live Free by Wisdom. I had two collections before Red Balloon, right? First one was called Street Wisdom. It was almost just the first collection. My first collection meant to me, and the story was, this is my perspective of what streetwear looks like. However that is, that's however that is. Like that, I think that the first collection I wanted to say, I'm scared, here go the jump. Boom. So this is how I see it to be. I just wanted people to feel that. And second was Live Free. It was like, I felt like I was being at the time, overly deep in my concepts. I don't know, overly trying to get a message and not using a minimal perspective just to overlay it and just have it say this thing and it means so much more underneath. It was me trying to make it say that thing right then and there. And that's when I was like, nah, I love this, but I'm not there yet, right? When the Red Balloon was born, I was there because it was like me pulling my hand off the paper and being like, done. And that was trusting. I had to trust that process, and like, people will get it. And still interlaced it with a cool meaning that I think was really tight. If you want to go back and like you can read about the Red Balloon, that had a super cool story to it. But yeah, I think that, and hopefully I answered the question.
No, definitely did. I want to understand though, like, what gave you the confidence to step out and do this? You mentioned like being an inner child and wanting to bring, the way I like to think about it is manifesting creative ideas into reality. But I want to know more about that for you.
I gained the confidence from so many things. One is I trusted what I liked. I think that I wish I could just name something that just says it, but I'm from Brooklyn and I've been raised in Stone Mountain. So I think I've seen a different communication, a different level of how the city's built, how the transportation is built, how fashion is. And so when I was in Atlanta, I always thought myself to be like, think bigger, always think a little bigger because Stone Mountain is a small, select little area. I think that helped me stay expansive without getting so comfortable. And that kept my confidence like, oh, what I choose is the thing. So I believed in that. And then another part of that was coming from a really small amount, and I can't say poverty, but like close to it, a way of just experiencing something you wouldn't choose for yourself as an adult. You'd be like, I got to make sure I work to have da. And so that gave me this air of like rebellion. I'm going to make it look like this when I get the chance. That gives you this kind of mentality that you want to be better. You don't want to stay the same. And that helped me. Using that journey is why it was easy to jump out and say, this is what I do subconsciously. I don't think I was intentionally like trying to get there. It was just like, I had to prove myself. I think I used to get suspended a lot and like joke in class so much that people like Latif is like looking crazy. So I was always like ready to prove people like I'm crazy, but I got some cool shit that you would love to look at or be inspired by. And I think that was fun to see a lot of people go, wow, you're multifaceted, especially the teachers. I really respected that journey from the teacher seeing me as like, yeah, you're just a bad fucking kid. You need to chill out. To, wow, you're intellectual. Wow, you actually got a good eye. Wow, you're like entrepreneur. Wow. And so that stuff drove me to be the best. I was like, oh no, people doubted me and in my head doubted me, but still using that is something I will never regret because it gave me sense of self and definition. So that's what gave me the confidence because I was like, I'm the best. I believe that. That's how that journey's been. I chose that.
Yeah, that's wild. I wanted to ask you particularly about two things. One is you talked about coming from almost nothing. I think about that a lot, not because I've done it, but I think when you, from what I understand, from what I've seen, when you come from that place, if you can commit yourself to learning, then you really have nothing to lose. Like you have everything to gain.
Agreed. Yeah. If you commit yourself to learning, exactly. Being a student and always trying to get better. You enter rooms with that mentality. Don't enter trying to flex your ego or what you've gained and learned. Like, look what I can do. Give me my stripes. It's no, I came in here with, I know what I can do, but I would love to get better at it. What do you do? What are y'all doing in here? My sister always used to say, you don't go into Louis Vuitton willing to spend a bag. You go in Louis Vuitton knowing you can buy the store. And you don't have to move in there saying that, but you can know it. And I think that gives you a better perspective of appreciation of certain things. And you're like, yeah, I could buy this, but I'd rather buy this bag because I like the bag. So, yeah.
Yo, your sister, that's a bar. It's don't buy it once if you can't buy it twice.
Yeah, agreed, yeah.
And I wanted to ask you, the other thing I wanted to ask you is you said you used to get suspended in school a lot. So
yeah.
Why were you being like a baby kid? What was that about?
I mean, nah, that's funny. That shit makes me laugh. I was bored. I used to finish my work fast, and then I know it's probably a cute girl in class. It's probably like one of my best friends in class or whatever, and I'm like, I'm gonna just fuck shit up. It'd be crazy because we was having fun. I hated social studies. I hated a lot of classes. I love language arts. I love telling stories. I love science, but I hated social studies because we learned about the cliche white history and stuff like that. It's just not fun. And then I'll have conversations with friends and all, we goofy, we playing, whatever. We come to class and I'm so like disconnected or like in a space of like, I'm doodling half the class and I'm like, this joke is not that bad. I'm gonna just say this and be obnoxious. And I would take it to the 10th degree. I remember I would tell a story, one of my teachers, her name was, I don't remember, it was at Redan Middle School. But I was talking or something, like playing in class, and she was like, all right, dummy's going to make everybody fail the test. And she was a really big lady. Like, we was badass kids. So I said, fat ass is going to make us fail the test because she's singling me out. Or something. I was a bad kid. I said that shit. And the class is crying, laughing, but I'm getting suspended. And I'm like, at some point, I was like trying to be rebellious for some reason. Like, I felt I was such a kid that felt like, how can you tell me who I need to be if you're doing something you don't? A lot of my teachers were like, they don't like this job. We're not getting paid enough. But you're telling me how to be successful. It just confused me at that age. And then also I was internalizing or trying to respond back to things in a way where it's like, you called me dummy, but I can't say this back to you. It's just like a wrong perspective as a little kid. Like, obviously respect the elders type of vibe. But at some point, it'd be like, respect who respects you, who teaches you respect. A lot of our teachers didn't care. They just didn't care. It was chaos at Redan Middle. So I didn't care neither. And I was like, at the end of the day, I'm going to get in trouble at home. But one thing that I guess used to be my exit strategy was like, Mom, they don't have no design classes. I want to draw. They don't have no art classes. I was always ready to have that comeback when I got home. Reality was like, I was just being bad, clearly, but yeah, a part of it was I needed outlets. If I was able to learn marketing, advertisement, design at that age, I'd be a prodigy. But we weren't given that in our high schools. I have friends who were given that in high school, and they tell me the dramatic difference of their childhood.
No, I feel that for sure, because I always found it interesting to be like in high school, and I grew up in Ohio, so like be in high school and then have InDesign and Photoshop class and all this stuff and be like,
yeah,
what is going on? But I understand, and because we also have like art classes as well. Like I took a jewelry class. I definitely understand just being in school and being like, yo, I don't care about Benjamin Franklin, bro. So I want to help me understand, because I want to get into like how you built this brand. You've done this for damn near, over 10 years now. I want to know, what did you fail at as you built it?
Yeah, it's a great question. I failed at structure at the beginning. It was a hobby, it was fun, but structure is needed with any business. So that was heavy for me at the beginning. It's like finding a structure.
So speak on that deeper. Like,
One thing about me in life, man. It's like failure, I don't look at failures as failures. I looked at them like lessons or whatever, like things that you had to get to define what that trajectory looks like to you to get to your end goal. So everything that happened needed to happen. So I guess you could shorten things by learning from behavior and stuff like that. But I think that some of the hardest things I was gaining to digest was like, how do you structure your sales? What sales am I pulling in? Am I doing pop-up stores? Am I doing events? Am I doing flea market events? Am I doing online shopping? Am I doing direct to consumer? Or am I wholesaling at stores? Trying to find out which one of those and how those, if I'm getting 600 units on January 1st, what avenues of sales do we know we're going to secure this year? So how much do we do online? That structure of knowing like what works for the company, and so we can hyper focus on those areas, was something that we were just letting rip. So that was a lesson to go, okay, you need to have that stuff projected. You know what it did in 2012, so you can project what it'll do in 2013. Things change, but at least you have some form of recollection to go back to and data to go back to. That was a big lesson for me. Understanding what a baby is and like your business is your baby, and understanding like certain parts of that connect to the things you want to give as an artist. And if you are an artist that created something, you get what I'm saying. But then that element of this is also, what do you do with a baby? Eventually has to go to school. Her or him has to go to school. So you need to be able to divvy up tasks to other business partners or people on your team. That structure was challenging for me at the beginning because I had the vision, and it was rare to find people that also understood the vision. It was hard to understand how to share and be able to open up and say, okay, I need you to do this, and I'm not going to do this task before you handle it because I trust that what you're doing with this task, and vice versa, etc. That goes on, but that was challenging because I was so used to handling so much. And I would say, even look at that sometimes, even people listening, like sometimes your business might not be this corporation with 40 employees. It might be you, your manager, your PR. It could be a 3-man operation, and you can have a successful business. So that, defining that for myself was hard at the beginning because I honestly didn't know. I was like, all right, will it be this, or will it be what someone else is telling me how to structure my business? And in that process, I found like what works for me. It's important to just go with what works for you. I've met people who, it's him and his manager. They do amazing in sales and whatever product they're working at or doing, and then collaborate. They partner with other companies, et cetera, et cetera. But that's what that company is. They can start something completely different and be like, we need 20 employees to operate this kiosk or the store that we're going to have in November. And that's a different structure. So finding things that work for you and being able to pass off that idea of this is my baby and letting it grow. Yes, it's your baby, but you need a team. You need people that can structure this thing with you, and you have to trust and let go of that vision, because at the beginning, what was my vision, right? One thing about me is I really brand myself with the I, because I do have the vision. A big portion of that is the actual intuitive design perspective. But another part of that was like, where was I at that age? The vision that I could have had earlier was to, oh, we might be the biggest brand to do blank. That's cool. I had a group of friends, like shout out to Kamal and Jiggy, Ja, Eric Fresco. We're like, we got to be the best blank. And I think that's dope. Keep that. But what's behind that is the question, because what does it mean to be the best brand? I'm going to release the best product. Is it selling? You know what I'm saying? Like, does it work? What is your intention when it is that biggest thing? How do you maintain those sales when it is that biggest thing? What's something worth thinking about? We're just like, if you know how it feels to come from poverty and something works for you, it's an energy you just want to win. It doesn't matter what comes after that win. You just want to win and get out of what you've been in. And that was one of the biggest things to get over. Oh, well, was I doing this for someone else? Was I doing it for another part of myself? And boiling that down and say, just structure the company and see what works and move that way. And when you have that flow, you can just start to implement different things. If we're doing the purple eyewear, I don't know, example, and it does well in sales, we can go to the green. We can now do an ad with a giant purple pair of glasses. I don't know. Like, that's up to you and your creative, but once you have something, you can build upon that. A lot of my opportunities came from like, I was there and I spoke up and I showed what I was capable of, and someone was like, boom. But that may not always happen. You need to have structure to know how to pitch those things sometimes when they're not reaching out to you, or You need to learn how to structure what you're doing in a way where it's appealing, so then you can get that dream collab or that dream idea you want to get off at McDonald's or whatever it is for you. So those are challenging. Learn how to differentiate the creative from the business, which is this is my baby versus this is a business. Divvying ideas and things to a team where you're not the main vision. I got the vision. Like, I don't get it. Move that out the way and say, here's a vision. Do you guys see it? Cool. What do you see too? And then beyond that, I would say structure financially using the QuickBooks to pay attention to what your sales are doing, where they did best at, where they did worse at, so you know where to take your investments next time. So you know where to go, okay, we'll get this next time. We'll drive traffic to the site. How can we drive traffic? Get a better SMS newsletter, maybe hire someone who can market Facebook ads for you a little more efficiently. Find out those little points, and so you can gear your income and your revenue to those places. That way your business can scale and grow.
You just answered the next question in that question, so thank you. Like, just even talking about structure and paying attention to the data and using QuickBooks, but it's just being like fiscally responsible. It's looking at your money, looking at your sales, understanding where it's coming from, understanding where it's going, because that's just as important as where it's coming from. And then also, like you said, building a team of people, because you can't do everything yourself. And you'll quickly find that out the more success you get. So even when you talked about a product might go crazy, like it might just fly off the shelves, but now that creates new problems.
Yeah.
We have to have people to fulfill those orders, to have customer support. There's many things that are involved in that process. So sometimes people look at social media, they look at their business and they're like, yo, I want this product to sell out, but do you even have the capacity to handle a sellout?
That's a big point.
And I think that's a lot of what you spoke to, and you gave a lot of great information there. So usually I ask people, like, what are 3 strategies?
I would say communication, like direct communication with your team. That could be challenging. All the communication styles that's in the room, find a way to do that efficiently. So maybe using like a platform for that. I think I use like a ClickUp, or I don't know if you ever heard of Asana, like these meeting board apps and things like that. I just make the process easier so you can have goals and check them off, and also have a list of how to get to that goal. And then you can divvy those objectives on that list to certain people on the team. And now we can focus on the shoot that's coming up on Wednesday and what are all the pieces to get to that. So when it happens, everybody's accountable for something. When that day comes, we should all be in that room prepared, but we should all be on the same accord. And what helps with that is a scheduling. Using some type of platform or email or text thread or something just to keep everybody on the same page is helpful, because everybody got so much going on in life. I mean, it's life. So to get people to gear towards your baby, your concept, your brand, your idea is already beautiful in itself. Like, just think about that. You got people going, wow, I see where this is going. I believe in it. So then meet them halfway, structure it so it's a step-by-step process for them to be involved, and so we can get some traction. Yeah, that's what I recommend. And then be okay with not being perfect sometimes. Just get there. It's all about getting there. So if it's not working out at times, or if something doesn't work, try something new. If one of those things are not efficient, then that's fine. Try something new. Just don't give up. That's one of the biggest things. Don't quit. Don't be like, I started my brand on Tuesday. It didn't sell out by Thursday. Yeah, I know, man. It takes years. I think I'll say this too, just a tangent, but not really. I really appreciate seeing brands emerge and start their thing and get traction and do their pop-ups, do their stores, do their concepts. And I love it, because I'm like, wow, now this brand's adding to the economy of brands out in Atlanta or in the world. Keep going. It's going to be times where there's nobody in that building at times. 2 people came to your show. But then there'll be other times where it's over 600 people in that room if you see it through. Yeah, I just want people to realize that concept of really don't give up, especially just because something's not giving you, I guess, that instant gratification. We can get lost in that. So definitely give yourself grace and patience for what you planned out, and just step by step it.
You saying everything that needs to be said, and I see that happen so many times with creative people. I see things start, but I think, like you said, you could do an event and it could be 2 people there, and that could be a pop-up shop. And then you could do an event 6 months later and it could be 600 people there. And I think there's an analogy there for almost like an artist. Like the same way you said, I enjoy seeing new brands pop up and flourish. It's like the same thing for an artist that you may have just came across today or this week or whatever. You're like, I really fuck with this music, even though this person has like 1,000 followers on Instagram, right?
I'd be the best one sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's irrelevant. And so I think you got to tell yourself when you're in those moments of doubt, do I still fuck with this? And if you do, then you should still fuck with it, even if you don't see the results, because we place expectations on ourselves that sometimes aren't realistic. But yeah, man, where did the name come from, and do you think the name contributed to your success?
The name came from intuition. I think it was just something. I swear it was just a name. That's how it was for me starting the brand in high school. I was like, that's the name. I was inspired by Supreme, I think, a little bit with that, because one word stood for something strong, but the branding disassociates just with that term. It just is what it is, concept with the name. And I like that element, but I also loved how, from one of my favorite things with design is that the I, right? I always talk about the I, but also the I is I, like you and I. I like that concept because I think that's perspective. The I, like our whole life is about awareness and perspective, and at some coincidence we call ourselves I. And I think that was like fun to play with, because I'm like, obviously this life already is by nature telling us it's about sharing perspective. And so creating a brand that's called Wisdom is the use of knowing that. And that was cool. And even when you look at the logo at the top, you see a halo, but it's really a ring, because it's a planetary ring, because I feel that I that we all have is our universe. And you can pull people in depending on how strong your gravitational pull is, depending on how much you believe in yourself and how much you believe in your vision, your product. And back to what you said, believing in, if you like it, then do it. What happens when somebody likes something authentically? You fuck with it. I literally reposted this singer yesterday. I'm not going to remember his name, but he was so committed to the note that I was like, this shit's fire. So I downloaded all his music. But I love to see people who are committed to their art, which is the stronger you are involved with your eye, your vision, your eye, is the stronger your gravitational pull is. You walk in a room, bring your planet, bring your universe. Don't discredit yourself. Don't throw away all the things you've become, but be willing to go to somebody else's planet. And I think that's how we create empathy and like sharing in this world, is at least having an open ear to say, I don't like that, but I love how you broke it down.
Yeah. Can you say that last? I'm going to call you Bishop Latif for the rest of the podcast. Can you say that last part about the universe? Can you just say that one more time?
Yeah, bring your own. You don't have to leave your own universe. I forgot what I said.
Yeah, I think you said your own. You don't have to throw away your universe.
Yeah, you don't have to throw away your universe and what you are to accept another and go to someone else's planet. That could be a fight for a lot of people. I'm not throwing away who I am to hear you out. And it's like, you don't have to. You can just hear me out. Keep what you have with you. And you might even learn something. Like, you might leave there and you might go to something 4 years later and like, damn, if I was in that room with blah, 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 I wouldn't have known how to handle the situation. It's just sharing. We're here to share.
Fire. Okay. I also want to ask you, for the people in here, what are like the top 3 things somebody needs to do right away if they're starting a clothing brand?
Oh, that's a good one. The top big things they need to do. There's so many perspectives in that, because you can give a business perspective, you can give a design perspective, you can give an inspiration perspective.
Okay, so give me one of each and put it together for the 3.
All right, first, to start with inspiration, then you need to have something you're in love with, something that you connect with, or something you believe in. The ideas you have with that thing, believe in it. Just step into that, and whatever that is, follow it. Trust supremely that this is where you need to be in life. Whatever that is, step into it. Wear it, breathe it, eat it. Make people know why they should be eating it too, or breathing it. Second is, since we said what I said, business and design. Second, I'll jump into design then, right? Yeah. I would jump into design then. I'll do that before business. I'll say, make sure the product reaches your standard of how you want it to look. That could be the website, the actual product, the communication on the first logo you dropped, how did you drop it? Did you go to Instagram and put it up? Or did you create a network of emails or texts and said, hey, text this number back, the color, blah, and gain the first viewing of this thing? Like, how creative did you get? You need to get into that bag, the design bag. Believe, design, and really find something where you can release this thing and the product, how it looks, all makes sense and is going to be cool, going to be wow enough for people to go, this shit's tight. The other one I would say is business. Make sure it works. I would just say, obviously that could be a test, like it could be a fail and go back type of situation and go back to formula, figure something else out. But if the business works, I would say do it. I always kept business in the forefront of my mind, starting Wisdom, because I was not going to be anything I've seen before or not go as good, not work as hard as I could. So I always wanted to make sure this thing sold and made sense. And I stuck with that my entire life. And I think that's what really differentiated me from a lot of things I grew up around, or people and brands I grew up around. And this had to make sense first. So business. Does it sell? Who's it selling to? What's your demographic? Why did you start it? Who is this conversation for exactly? Knowing all those things will help out that entire process, because if you see all the three things to tie into each other, believing yourself in the product that you come in to step into and say, I am this right now, and this is what we're about to do. Design. It's going to look good. It's going to be presented well. Ties into the belief, what you believe it should look like. 3 is, who is it for? Is the business of it. How does this product work? Will they buy it? Where is it placed at? And I think those 3 things can really, if you just keep those, maybe start a list, jot some things under those 3 columns, you can start to get some traction on your next, how you're going to drop your product.
Bishop Latif. Okay, so that's a good segue to this question. So how do you make money doing what you love?
How do I make my money doing what I love? Okay. Every time you ask questions, it makes me think of 40 different responses. So I'm like, okay, from one direction, make my money doing what I love by those 3 things I just mentioned, making sure my product works. Where am I selling it? It's so many elements versus the structures of how I make sure it sells. Yeah, so I guess I will ask you, which way do you mean that question?
So I would say really what I'm getting at is if you could give us like a simple, like a Cliff Notes blueprint of how to make money through creating a clothing brand.
Okay. Create the product that you're selling, and sell the product. There's not no one way to me to answer that question, because it's just, how do you make money doing anything? You make sure it works. Who's buying into it? Who's your audience? How do you get them to buy? What's the incentive to buy? I'll say this, create incentive around the product you design.
You talked about understanding who your customer is and how you incentivize them to buy. And I think that's like probably the most important place to start.
Okay.
There's a few questions here that I want you to touch on too, because they align with the same thing. So like, how did you get this to be the main source of income? What did you need to do to get it there?
A lot of work, a lot of what I just said, not giving up. Like, I remember making sure I had a bank account separate for the business. That's a good tip. A bank account separate for the business, and not making this thing your main source of income. It depends on what it is for you. I'm building a brand, the next person could be trying to get the next dollar. So what did that look like? Next person could be, I'm just trying to fund my trips I go on every week, like whatever. So find out what that is for you. For me, it was like, I'm building a brand. I want this thing to have longevity. So what goes in must come out and go back in. And so creating a bank account separate to see what we're actually gaining or what we're actually losing, and what we're spending on monthly, how much it costs to get materials to make, blah, blah, blah. That's how we started making money off of the brand, is monitoring where our money was going and how it was coming back in and what we're spending on. Once we started to see, for me, it's another mistake. Started to see that, I'm spending this on my monthly personal things. It was like, if that's what it is, that's what it's going to be. If you want this thing to grow, you're going to have to separate those 2 things. That's how we started making money for the brand. Also, like, I remember one of my biggest things, 2021, at the end of 2020, was I put so much into, if anybody does fashion, they understand this. So this might be communicating with a lot of kids and people out there. So when you start doing pieces and collections with a low budget, it's going to be challenging, because fashion is a high number game. So you're sitting here creating a full collection that's probably going to cost you about $5,000. You want to put that on a runway. You want to, whatever your marketing plan is, that's another additional $3,000-4,000 if you're doing this stuff effectively. And so when you think about that, what's your profit is going to be? You're probably going to making little to a quarter of that back, and that's what you want to do. That's the stakes you're playing at. But I think as a business person, like, I don't want to make a quarter of my profits back. I want to expand dramatically. When we from our profit margins, if the product costs this much and we sell it at this much, what's the margins, things like that. I want that to make sense. That way the business is scaling and growing. I don't want it to be, here's cost us 800 in design and manufacturing, and we profited $200 from that. And that's cool, but it doesn't make sense to me. And then so the next person, that might make sense. That might be like, that's what this business is for. I like the slow growth. This is cool. But for me, I not only love fashion and design and all the fun stuff, but I also want it to make sense. So that's how I started to solidify income with the brand, and also collaborations and like working with actual stable companies that are able to put your product on a new pedestal, which means those drops that you do on your own when you sell 50 units, they can help you sell 500 units. So you can amplify that and gain a new customer base. So finding collabs that make sense for your brand so you can grow faster or grow more efficiently and reach your customer, the actual customer. Because if you're in Alabama and you're selling $1,000 jeans, you probably want to move out of Alabama. So you need to expand to get your product in front of who's going to buy $1,000 jeans. So those things helped. Some of the branding things I did, I knew we didn't have the budget to get us to where we wanted to be, because I understood, look, we're selling this amount of shirts at this price. It's going to take a minute to get to this price bracket. We need to break into this market. How do we do it? Guerrilla marketing. Finding ways to reach a massive amount of people, create a shock value enough for you to go, oh, this kid's fucking tight. And then once you got that going, because if you know it's tight, everybody's going to know it's tight. Get creative. Don't just, oh man, my business we profiting 200, we spend 1,000 on garments, and so we ain't doing too pretty good. Figure it out. You got 200 to figure something out. Like, how can you get some models? Can you do like a campaign? Can you call someone and be like, yo, can you get this on blah, 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 and do a release? Get creative with your resources, and so your business can sell and grow. If you want to see something work, you got to see it through. You got to work at it. You got to try different things. You got to get creative. A tip that I just figured out about myself, something I already have known about myself, but I get super creative no matter what amount of money I'm making. I learned that in a business meeting. We're sitting down and I'm like, oh, we can do this resource we're talking about. And they're like, wow, I didn't think of that, but damn, we could spend less doing that. I'm like, yeah, spend less. It might cost less, but the idea is integral and it works. So if something works and it communicates well, then just do that. I think that a lot of people go, we was making this amount, now they're paying someone to do marketing campaigns for them. You can do that, or you can utilize some of the marketing campaigns that you thought of when you were broke, because you were so fucking creative at that time that you thought, you was like, man, I want to be this big. How do I do this right now? Oh, I don't have the resources. I'm just going to do it like this. Now, if you got money, just do it like this. Like, add a few resources behind that idea, and now watch it go crazy. That's something people can't buy from you, is culture and style and ideas, like intellectual property. You can't just buy that in the world. You got to have that. So like, for me, I'm stuck on that. I'm stuck on knowing, like, I bring a lot to the room that dollars cannot. I think what's cool in that is how you can give that to others too. How can you share that? How can you bring that out of others? That's where your value is going to lie.
Bishop Latif, I am speechless. We do have another question. How do you set financial goals for your clothing line, and what do you do to reach them?
Okay, how do I set financial goals? I'm going to just say that the thing that we're working on now is almost a billboard aesthetic, right? It's not a billboard, but it's a billboard aesthetic. It's going to have that type of outreach. It's a project that's going to be focused mainly on marketing, and it's currently it's requiring a big budget. We set step-by-step goals on how to get there. If we know we have this big marketing plan coming up and we don't have the revenue to do it at the level we want to do it, we can utilize the products or things that we have currently that can get us there. I find ways to get creative with the marketing. How do you make another color with that same shape or same silhouette and product, but reinvigorate some cool way to communicate it to the audience? Because sometimes you get into collections where product doesn't move as efficient as the last collection or however. And what I do in those moments is just get creative. Oh, we got still some of the green collection out. What did we hash out from this collection? What was the story? Oh, we never did this yet. We never did this collab or this idea or this visual that we wanted to do to get this campaign out. Let's go ahead and implement that. It's dope because those things tend to look like total different things, which will be refreshing for people to watch and see. Find ways to tell a new story, find ways to extend that story, find ways to say it might be the same story, but text this number to get. If you are in Atlanta and you know, like, there's something big maybe happening in Atlanta, maybe it's, I don't know, I'm gonna just say something random, like a Gucci Man concert. I don't know. And it ties into your brand. Find a way to have yourself positioned at this show and do something either in collaboration or maybe even standalone. But bring in your audience and say, be at this big thing that's going on in the city and find the blank. When you get there, scan the code. It gives you blah, blah, blah off the site. It gives you exclusive access to the next collection. Stuff like that helps get to goals, because the more creative you are, the more, people are interacting and having fun with your product and wanting to get it, rather than just reaching ceilings, like I said, and trying to, okay, let's move on to the next. Let's figure out how to push that full collection out, and don't lose sight of your goal, because sometimes in those processes of getting to that huge marketing idea can go left. Like, you start like this and excited and, oh, we're going to reach this amount by September, and you might not. And what keeps us going towards that is like small things to say, it's not doing what we want, but let's try something else. Let's have fun with this. We want to see if this was happening, because from the other end, they're not seeing this. Or they're not seeing the ins and outs. So go ahead and figure out how we could, on the surface level, bring something that's fun and reinvigorating that looks like it fits right in. Or better yet, fits right in. Because I wouldn't even say it's about looking like it. Yeah. Yeah.
All I have to say is, like, you mentioned some guerrilla marketing just in terms of like being at the event, right? And being there to be able to sell, as long as it aligns with your brand. And you made me think, if you have a brand right now and it's operating in the same way of, there's this artist coming and there's this concert, you could do a giveaway where people have to buy something from your brand in order to win tickets to the show. So you pay for those show tickets, but you might actually make way more off the merch that people bought to try to win the tickets in the first place. So I want to understand, before we go, just, can you tell everybody, because this goes out on all platforms, so can you tell everybody where they can find you?
Latif sees it, and then Wisdom ATL everywhere else. So that's like the website, Instagram, Spotify playlist, to YouTube, to everything. So yeah.
Once again, y'all, this is the Creative Breakthrough Podcast. I'm your host, Kosh. This podcast was created to eliminate the starving artist. If you want to stay in tune with this, I do this every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern on Instagram Live, and every episode comes out Monday on all podcasting platforms.